Of all people, only those are at leisure who make time for philosophy. Only they truly live. Not satisfied to merely keep good watch over their days, they annex every age to their own. All the harvest of the past is added to their store. Only an ingrate would fail to see that these great architects of venerable thoughts were born for us and have designed a way of life for us. It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Our greatest glory in life lies not in never falling, but in rising up every time you fall. Waste no more time arguing about what a good human should be. Be one. The mission of Transcend Reality is meaningful ideas for meaningful progress on all scales, whether for yourself, for your community, or for the entire world. Hey, what's up everyone? Today is a really exciting day for me because it marks the beginning of Transcendence, my very own vlog series where I tackle some of the most important topics to me or from the audience in a relaxed, off-the-cuff place. Vlog number 1 of Transcendence is all about a life well lived, a discussion on what a meaningful life is, why it ought to matter to you, and the importance of cultivating your life mission. As a quick but definitely very important side note, because of really how enormous this topic is, I chose to prepare some notes in advance as well as some guidance points. So if you see my eyes dotting around, you know what I'm looking at. I think a good place to begin is a talk about why you should even care about what's in this video, and a discussion on my personal experiences as it relates to this topic. So I am and have been extremely fortunate that I was able to create my own life mission very early on without even really having realized it. And this focus in life gave me the freedom to let my mind wander around, imagining myself in a whole bunch of possible future jobs without even worrying about drifting around in life years down the road. My life mission is to forward the advancement of humankind. And I mean, just looking at myself in the camera, I can see that talking about it brings a smile on my face, not to be cheesy or anything. And broad, I know, because I believe in relentlessly working on things that I'm passionate about to have a positive and meaningful impact. Again, when we have to work really hard to get results on things that we may not enjoy, that's called stress. But I believe when we get to work hard and achieve results, that's passion. And yeah, there are no doubt going to be moments in our lives when you and I have to put in the hard work and put the things we'd rather do off to the side. That's called sacrifice. And sacrifice is virtually synonymous to human life. You choose to invest your attention in one thing means that you can't focus on another thing. That's a basic economic idea called opportunity cost. To give an example, it is the difference between a young Einstein getting drafted into the army and, on the other hand, fulfilling his destiny, if you will, of becoming a revolutionary scientific pioneer. Anyways, enough of that side tangent. See, I believe that if I involve myself in initiatives and work that pushes the collective needle of humankind forward even a little bit, I lead a meaningful life. And if I do it consistently enough, I can look back on my life when I'm close to meeting my maker and agree that I did have a life well lived. See, here's something I see in people around me and even myself every now and then, that when we look at people who have made it in some way, it can feel intimidating to even think about how we can become them, or more importantly to me, how I can become that ideal version of myself when, we may not be as smart as those successful people or as talented as those successful people, well connected. I mean, the list can honestly keep on going, but the point is to think about all of this and then give up is to entirely forget about all of the thousands and thousands of people and generations before you who worked their behinds off to stay alive so that you could be here today. Whether you're in a cubicle or you're the Prince of Monaco, I really believe that that is an incredible and beautiful equalizer that shows that we are all worthy to do something. And here's another insight that I came to realize, especially from studying Stoicism, that creating a movie script of your life is likely a surefire way to lead into a feeling of wilting control over your life. If this sort of approach works, has worked, and continues to, by all means, don't let me stop you though. See, a movie script is pretty much like how it sounds, that you map out your life, what you want to do based on your ambitions and your aspirations, but it's not just like creating a guideline of what you want to do, putting guardrails, as has been talked in Transcending Reality podcast. It is more so of creating a fully detailed plan that by this year I'm going to be doing this thing, by a couple years after that I'm going to be doing X, Y, Z, by the time I'm 50 I'm going to be doing A, B, C, so on and so forth. And what I've come to realize from a daily basis of implementing a schedule that revolves around controlling every minute, sometimes it can be tough because things pop up. I can add buffer zones and so on, but still life has its way of throwing something in that I have to work around or include. That means that the time I scheduled for a certain thing has to be pushed back, or almost eliminated altogether. And that eliminates the chance of me making progress in what I want to on that day, which is crazy to think about, that I'm losing a full day. End goals, big long-term goals, yearly, monthly, etc., are all super, super important to direct your efforts and give you focus and satisfaction in life. But after trying, just as I mentioned to you, I don't believe that it is valuable anymore to create as detailed a life plan. So to finally answer the question of this video, what is a meaningful life? What is a successful life? What is a life well lived? And why does it matter? And why should it matter to you? See, I can only hope that my reflections and ideas provide you some insight to help empower you. So I base a lot of my day-to-day way of life on the main Stoic pillars. 1, command your perceptions. 2, focus your intentions and actions in harmony with your values. Personally, as a side note, I push for goodness and progress, as of course however I deem it on that day. And also, that just came to my mind, I can likely make another vlog on this at another point. Somebody who I consider to be wise, Batman, has stated that he has a very strong code of conduct, and we all know that. He doesn't use guns, he doesn't kill, that he doesn't cripple beyond a terrible point, that he has all of these rules and his code of conduct almost either etched into his mind or written down during a time that he can confirm he was of sound mind, so that no matter where he is, what he's doing, he can always look back on those when he feels shaky about what he's doing and remember that he already believes in what he wants to do, being Batman. And here are his guidelines, his guardrails for continuing in that role. So just in that same way, while I can choose daily what I value and how I want to act on these values, I already have predetermined what my principles are. And frankly, here's another important point. Always be open, always, to re-examining, redefining, and adding, or even subtracting, really, to and from your values and your principles as a human being. So anyways, I'm going to do a quick recap. 1, on the Stoic pillars. 1, command your perceptions. 2, focus your intentions and actions in harmony with your values. And 3, accept what isn't in your control, adapt to that, and be grateful for each moment. So this framework helps me consistently follow something that I call the cycle for a meaningful life. Camel. First off, let's tackle what a successful life is. This is really important because even from an early age, the best of us still think that a successful life means that cozy penthouse, that functional but elegant luxury car, loads of money, a fantastic family, and life in general. Absolutely. There's absolutely more. But I do think that they are all aspects of a successful life because really it's something that's been ingrained into me socially.
It's the very best part of being alive.
The very best part of being alive is that you get to determine your version of a successful life. Whether it's primarily your family, physical and mental health, or contribution to society, or something entirely else. The important point is that I urge you to take inputs from the people you admire around you and shape your own path. After all, everyone else is taken, and the only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. So just as I mentioned earlier, my framework for a cycle for a meaningful life, first on that cycle is transcending. The only way I've realized to lead a better life is to become better, at least a little, than the person I was yesterday. Similar to Matthew McConaughey, I look towards the accomplishments of successful people around me to become even more motivated and become better and help as many people as I can on that journey up. But I also look at future me, the me I envision down the road after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. I can clearly tell that if I remain the exact same 25 years down the road, I won't ever be able to materialize my ambitions. This first step of transcending comes from a true joy of discovering what it means to be alive. Reading for the sake of reading, watching movies that excite me and challenge me to think differently, watching YouTube videos and TV shows that show me new perspectives and teach me. Looking at the sunset and not just seeing a bunch of light, but feeling what I'm seeing. Taking a moment and looking down the street and not just seeing what my next goal is, what's next on my to-do list. Seeing living people working so perfectly that we can cross the street while there are these objects going at insane speeds our ancestors couldn't even have dreamt of. And here we are. Almost in a way, I think, to sum it up, reigniting that romance in our daily lives. Meeting new people, traveling around the world, there are so many ways that you can expand your mental horizons that the topic honestly deserves its own video. Step 1, from my perspective, on a meaningful life, transcend yesterday. The second step on Camel, on the cycle, is being. This is as simple as it sounds, but it can also be misleading in terms of how simple it is. That once you've read all these books and devoured all this content on Stoicism, on Buddhism, on world religions, on self-improvement, on finance, on whatever you're interested in, sometimes it's not enough just to have all these thoughts in your head. In theory, what matters is practicing these abilities, taking the theoretical and making it practical. Just as medicine, economics, music is all fine and dandy when you're reading about it, when you're talking about it with other people, it makes zero impact to leave it in this sort of ephemeral state. What matters is to take your knowledge of medicine, of music, of painting, of literature, and creating something tangible with it. So when you transcend yourself from yesterday, you gotta work to embody these things that you have gained so that you can become even better tomorrow. And then the third and final step on the cycle for a meaningful life, is a state of action. Instead of the universe we live in giving us meaning, at the present moment, I believe we give meaning to the world around us. It's not enough to think about what we've learned by transcending and being. The mark of a truly good and great human is the ability to take what they gain from the 2 other steps of Camel and apply them in the world. If you want to join Broadway, if you want to create a Silicon Valley startup, you have the ability to do so. The important lesson is to remember that no matter how determined we are, no matter how much we persevere, sometimes there are just things we cannot do. A fun example is a little boy or a girl who wants to jump high enough to touch the clouds. No matter how hard he or she thinks her muscles can take her to that height, as far as I'm aware, no human can do that. Sometimes it shows up in an industry's barrier of entry being too high, or a dozen auditions just going wrong. What matters is that even if you don't become CEO of the company that you desire to create, you can very well find people with potential and help them expand their dreams. Having talked a bit about what I feel a successful life is, the ambiguity of what a successful life is, as well as what a meaningful life is, how I would consider a life well lived, there are simply so many ways that you can define a meaningful life. The guests on my podcast clearly illustrate that facet of life. Even more, apparently finding people who early on know what they want out of life is rare. If anything, I hope the things I've shared with you in this video help you refine what you want to do with your time as a living being. Whatever you choose to do, remember to keep consciously fueling that inner fire. Skadoosh.